I hereby award you the honorary Doctorate of Arts degree from Ringling College in recognition of your accomplishments and creativity in the art and design profession.
I think it should be Dr. Reggie. To the 2019 graduating class of Ringling College of Art and Design, congratulations. I want to offer my very best wishes to one particular graduate here with us today, my daughter, Clay. So these past 4 years, I've had the opportunity to regularly visit Ringling and to spend time with Claire and her friends. I've seen up close the remarkable creativity that you all have. On my very first visit, I was particularly struck by the constant creation that you all do. You see, for me, my college experience was very different. It was going to large lectures, taking tests, participating in group discussions and projects. When I'm on Ringling's campus, I see you constantly creating. You walk around with your watercolors and your illustration tools. I see you on your computers and your Cintiq tablets, constantly creating. The campus seemed to me to be one big, open, creative studio. A creative mind will serve you well as you proceed with your careers. After all, today we live in a world where some graduates worry that a robot will someday replace them in whatever jobs they secure. That won't happen to you. This is a design-oriented, highly visual world, and no robot will ever imagine the way you do. You've made a wise choice to come to Ringling and to thrive in its cutting-edge curriculum. Being here with you is a humbling experience. I've been fortunate to have had many professional and personal accomplishments. And I'd like to share these 5 principles with you here today. The first principle is an essential one. What happens to you is up to you. You own your future. Your parents don't own it. Your professors and instructors don't own it. Certainly, your parents and your teachers have helped prepare you. But where you go from here is completely up to you. You need to own your future and assume control of your life. You need to make all of those decisions, the big ones, the small ones, and follow through on those decisions. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that you shouldn't seek out advice and at times listen to that advice, especially from your parents. Right, Claire? But what I am saying is that you have the power to make those key decisions and to own them. You are the one ultimately responsible for your future. That's what being a grown-up is all about. Own it. For me, this was true early on. I'm a first-generation American citizen. My parents came to the U.S. from Haiti. There, they were well educated. My maternal grandfather was a doctor by profession and a member of the Haitian Democratic government, the equivalent to the Secretary of Health and Human Services. My paternal grandfather was the second highest ranking officer in the Haitian military. Both my parents had the equivalent of a college degree. But when they came to the US, they didn't know much English, and they had to take on lower level jobs. So when it came time for me to apply to college, they had no experience to help me with the process. I had to do all the work to identify potential colleges, to figure out the application process and the acceptance process. And I had to figure out how to pay for it because they had no ability to help. I took ownership. I applied to only 3 universities because I couldn't afford more than the 3 application fees. One offered me the opportunity for a sports scholarship. The other was a good but not great school where I was confident I would be accepted. But my strict school was Cornell University. I would need significant scholarship help, and I would need to take out loans. But I took ownership for all the steps, and I was accepted. I received a full scholarship for my first 2 years and worked during my last 2 to help defray costs. But I did. It was up to me, and this early success set me on my way. The second principle, life is hard, so dig deep. There will always be setbacks. You are owning your future, but not all your decisions will work out. The key is how you respond. You need to have grit. You need to have perseverance. You need to be resilient because life is hard. I grew up in Bronx, New York until I was 8 years old. It was a rough neighborhood, and the area is still economically depressed today. My father worked 2 jobs, essentially 14 hours a day, to scrape together the money that would be the down payment to get our family out of the Bronx and into a small house on Long Island, New York. The tipping point for our move out of this depressed area happened one Sunday morning as my family was getting ready to go to a favorite lake in northern New Jersey. As my brother and I were getting ready to walk down the 5 flights of stairs of our tenement building, my mom pulled us aside. She said to us, "When we walk down the stairs, I want you to look up, not down. Do this for me," she implored. So what do 2 boys of 7 and 9-year-old do? We look down every step of the way. And we immediately see what my mom didn't want us to see. Drops of blood on the stairs that later became larger pools. We learned that someone had been stabbed on the roof of the building and had bled on the stairs as they stumbled down 5 flights of stairs out of the structure. The person lived, we found out, but my family was out of that building by the beginning of the following summer. Life is hard. Third principle, be open to alternatives. What I mean by this is that you should be open to options and solutions that may not have been part of your original plan. In college, I was a finance major. I always had a head for numbers, and I performed well in all of my business classes. So well that I was a teaching assistant for the key finance course in my undergraduate business school as a junior and as a senior. I was a teaching assistant for other classes too. I was fortunate to land an internship at a small bank during the summer before my senior year. This internship allowed me to see all the aspects of the bank's operations. I felt I had found my calling. With this experience and my educational background, I was convinced that my career was going to be in finance. I interviewed with prospective financial institutions on campus and at their headquarters. I had multiple job offers from international banks. To truly progress in this career, I would have to eventually go back to school to get a master's degree, which would mean more loans, but this was the path I'd always envisioned. I was all set to execute, but an alternative path presented itself. A company called Procter & Gamble contacted me. You may not know the company, but you know its products. Crest toothpaste, Bounty paper towels, Tide laundry detergent. Hundreds of brands that people use around the world. They contacted me because they'd received recommendations from a number of my teachers. The company had a discipline that they call brand management, where they teach you how to run these individual brands. They wanted me to interview for this program. I had never heard of Procter & Gamble. I had never heard of brand management. But the more I looked into the program, the more I became intrigued. Essentially, in this program, you learn all of the fundamentals to grow a business. Tools like sales planning and advertising creation, product development, finance, and budgeting. So I went for it, and I interviewed. I did well enough to be invited to their headquarters to learn more. I learned at that time that the company would hire about 100 people into this program in the United States. The vast majority would be graduate students with a master's in business administration. They would mostly be in their mid to late 20s and early 30s. A handful, typically less than 5 per year, would be graduating with a bachelor's degree similar to what I would have. That year, I was one of 4 people with only a bachelor's degree to receive a job offer into the program. Now I had a dilemma. Brand management was not the path I had envisioned for myself, but I saw opportunity in this move. I would get foundational training. I would get to jumpstart my career at a very young age. But remember principle number 2, it would be hard, very hard. I chose the alternative path, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I stayed almost 8 years at Procter & Gamble and progressed at a fast pace. I made mistakes, but I persevered. I learned how to run a business. I learned how to manage people. I made lifelong friends. I continue to often choose the alternative path. Years later, I had an opportunity to work for another company, similar to Procter & Gamble, or to work at MTV Networks, in a completely different type of role, in a completely different type of industry. I chose MTV Networks, and it was another great decision. I met my lovely wife there, who's here with us today, and the role gave me valuable experience in the entertainment industry, which led to my 15-year career with Nintendo. Always be open to alternatives. 4th principle, embrace your fear. We all have fears. Some are rational, many are irrational. But if you let your fear control you, you'll make yourself miserable. I believe you need to embrace your fear. You need to attack it. You may not ever make your fear completely go away, but you can keep it from controlling you. It may shock you that at one time I was afraid of public speaking. Early in my business career, I had to take outside courses to boost my confidence and to give me practical public speaking skills. Remember, I was working alongside people who who were 5 to 10 years older than I was. They had prior life experiences in business school or in the military. During the early parts of my career, I would listen more than most and observe how others behaved. I wanted to soak up as much learning as I could. I was quiet in meetings, taking notes on comments that I found interesting, or on ideas that were sparked during my interaction with bosses and peers. So I took these outside speaking classes and forced myself to speak up in meetings and to take on opportunities that would put me in front of large groups. I worked hard to first manage and then overcome my public speaking fear. Eventually, I turned that fear into a key asset. It gave me the confidence to conduct press events in front of thousands of people, to do interviews on live television, and to even play video games with Jimmy Fallon in front of the world. Think deeply about your own fears and how you can overcome them, and even use them to your advantage. Don't let these fears control you. Last principle: live in the moment and have some fun along the way. This one should be easy for all of you. You are the creators. You will make things that no technocrat, no Wall Street titan, no elected official, no business executive ever will. You'll make art that elicits an emotional reaction, a laugh, a smile, maybe even a tear. You are the creators. Use these unique skills that you've honed here and that will serve you in all your future endeavors. Enjoy this moment and all of the other wonderful moments you have in front of you. And hopefully, you'll apply a few of the principles that I've shared with you here today. Thank you, and good luck to all.